Hey, we're back in the
Hello.
room with the Anaglypta. It is May the 11th and it is day 52 of lockdown. We're not in here because we've had any massive sort of disaster or anything, but basically we've been doing a few things that have kept us out of the room for a while, and Poppet was seeming a bit lonely, so we thought, well, this would be a good way to sort of have half an hour in here with her, because we're actually been filming a sketch, haven't we? So we haven't actually finished doing that, so, and we need different backdrops for it, so, and we need both of us to do it, so that has involved being out of the room. We've spent plenty of time in here with her as well, but today was a vet strip day, wasn't it? So when she came back, she was actually quite clingy and wanted a bit of company, so both did that for a bit. But over the evening we've been out faffing about, so we thought we'd come and film in here, just because then that's half an hour where she's got our ugly mugs to look at.
We tried leaving an iPad, playing a video of some birds and squirrels and things for her to look at, but she doesn't seem very fussed. But it's
when we first put it on, she did actually go and sort of tapped at it, but I think as soon as she realised, oh well, they're behind some sort of glass, I can't be fucked.
No, but it might be a bit of background noise or company if we leave it on overnight. We're going to try that anyway.
Yeah.
See if that makes a difference. But it was a weird one today because normally, right, she's either trying.
So we're just staring at her if you're wondering what we're looking at. She's over
just
there.
Out of shot. But normally she's either sat by the door looking like she wants to escape, or she's kind of lying down somewhere, often under the desk. And definitely for me, if I'm in here with her, I often get a sense of like I don't really
know if she cares.
Cares one way or the other about my company or existence. And she's looking at me right now.
But today has been quite an affectionate day.
Well, the thing is, it's been a kind of a double-edged sword for me, because I had a spell in here earlier where she was looking at the door, trying to get out, and like we normally describe her as being like quite grumpy or pissed off or fed up or sick of our shit and just wanting to get out of this room. But today, like, she was making noises that I didn't like hearing because she actually sounded sort of sad rather than just like grumpy or fed up. She sounded actively kind of really quite sad.
Give us an impression.
So, just a sort of sad sort of meow. And it was, but the flip side of that though was, having normally felt like, oh, I don't really feel like I'm offering her much by being here. I made a little sort of chirp sound, and she came.
Go on, give us your chirp.
Sort of like a sort of mimicking the noise that she makes sometimes for attention, and she sort of came and sort of bumbling over to me, not running over to me because of her bad leg, but sort of bumbled over to me, and I was getting some head bumps and a bit of love and affection, and it genuinely felt like I was tangibly offering a bit of comfort to her, as opposed to just being in the room with her.
Oh dear.
I felt it was sad that she was sad, but it felt...
I might have to pause, hang on. Sorry, we had a biting at dressing incident, so that's why I was just going but she's stopped now. She
hasn't normally done that. She's normally pretty good, but
it's a new dressing today, so it might be that it feels a little bit different and she's not used to this one, so she's just sort of, because she's not actually like biting at it as though she's trying to get it off. It's like she's grooming and she sort of keeps going down the leg and then suddenly goes, oh, that feels different.
Do you think it goes slightly further up the leg than the last one did?
Possibly. It may be that it gradually sort of like rolled down a little bit over the weeks, because the bulk of the dressing wasn't changed. It was just the surface that they changed. So it may be that actually, it sort of gradually rolls down a little bit at the top.
So I'm sorry that she was sad today, but it was nice to kind of feel like I was tangibly offering a bit of comfort, and she seemed to be actually getting something out of it.
Nice. Well, the last few days, I've genuinely thought maybe she was a bit depressed, which I wouldn't be surprised, because she is sort of stuck in a room and she doesn't know that it's temporary.
And we can't explain it to her, and
it's been kind of depressing a little bit, because we sort of gone to give her a bit of comfort and she's just not really been interested. But last night and today, actually, she's been lying on my tummy and giving me quite a lot of love, so that's been really nice, actually, because I felt really bad, but there's not a lot you can do, because even sort of toys to sort of entertain her while she's in here, most of them involve chasing or catching things, which she can't be encouraged to do. So we've got to kind of find things that stimulate her, that don't make her move around too much. So I've got some like weapons grade catnip, which she is loving. So, and I've got some scratching posts and things so that she can sort of do that, which is what the noise you can probably hear is. And yeah, so just trying to think of things. So if you know of any good tips to keep a bored cat entertained but without doing any exercise, hit us up because we are open to suggestions.
Yeah, we really are. 'Cause...
Oh dear, bless her. Sorry, we're very distracted. This is one thing that we probably haven't been when we've been at the desk. But yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, but she's doing well. So today was the halfway point in her recovery. Oh, God, that is depressing because it feels like it has been longer than that because it should have been 8 weeks recovery, but obviously she had the second operation, so it would have been 8 weeks from the first one, but we went back for the checkup a week later after that, and she needed another op, so we were sort of reset back to 8 weeks. So yeah, we've got 4 weeks left. I am hoping though that maybe that last week might be that she's got to keep the dressing on, but she can move about a bit more. Maybe she'll be allowed like the rest of the house, but just not out and about so that she doesn't get it dirty. But like I'm hoping that maybe, and we can close the baby gate so she doesn't use the stairs perhaps, but we can bring her upstairs when we go to bed and close the baby gate and maybe bring her downstairs when we come down in the morning. In the morning, like we get up in the morning anymore. That I had to get up at I had to be at the vet's for 11:30 today, and I was like, oh God, I've got to be up in the morning.
I mean, who knows, 4 weeks from now I could be back in work, couldn't I?
Oh no,
we don't know what's happening.
No, I've decided you're not. No,
Oh.
because like obviously not, and I really want to stress this is not because I don't want, like, it's not that I'm like, oh, let's just stay at home and take 80% and be lazy arseholes. I would be happier me going back to work than you going back to work because I could get to work safely, and in work I can actually fairly well control the environment because I could have a maximum of 7 customers on site at any one time, and I could make them hand sanitize on the way in and on the way out, and I can disinfect the room after them in between games, and to do the resets I could wear gloves and mask and all that stuff. I could protect myself and those guys quite well. You're going to be dealing with general members of the public, and I don't trust general members of the public, but you'll be dealing with them at work, which obviously you can do social distancing measures at work to a certain extent, but I assume you have to get relatively close when you're doing pre-eye tests and stuff.
Yeah.
But also, the main thing I'm worried about with you is public transport.
Yeah, that's the bit that worries me. I mean, they've said workplaces are supposed to maintain social distancing and kind of put restrictions in place. I'm not sure how that will work at my workplace in terms of just, I can see it on the shop floor when you kind of...
Yeah.
But I don't know how that's... I mean, obviously it's not going to work when people are having their eyes measured and checked and things.
Would you maybe need to wear PPE? So then you'd have like proper masks and stuff?
I mean, potentially, but at the moment they don't have enough for all the doctors and nurses, so the chances of them like passing it out to...
Well, I'm just thinking for actual... Yeah, well...
I just don't think the supply is going to be... I can see the value of it, but I don't think that's going to be happening. I can't imagine they've been doing that. Obviously, the optician I work in has been open. They've been doing emergency eye tests, and you know, all the best and well done to my colleagues who've been on the front line as key workers doing that. So, you know, that's really great. But I can't imagine they've had PPE and things.
I shouldn't have thought so. I was actually wondering if the vets probably do, but they probably normally do. I'm guessing just because of like not for like a normal appointment, but for surgeries and stuff. I imagine because you wear masks in surgeries to avoid cross infection.
But whether they'd have enough stuff, but then they're also operating like an airlock system. So
I don't actually mean really so much for just like routine checkups, because if you haven't got the person in the room with you, there doesn't seem to be any suggestion that there should be cross contamination, and vets would have very good hand washing sort of measures in place anyway. Would probably wash their hands in between each client anyway, but I was thinking for surgeries and stuff they probably wear masks just because you've got open wounds and stuff and risks of infection, so I guess they might have a certain amount, but yeah, that was just thinking aloud really. But yeah, I think the main thing, because we don't know what's going to be happening here, because we're only judging what's going on here by what's being said in England, because here, basically, we've been told nothing's really changing except the garden centres thing and slight loosening on exercise rules. But basically, nothing much has changed here. But in England, they've said if all goes well and they manage to get the R rating down, then 1st of June might be a sort of pivotal date where they sort of go into the next phase where they do measured openings of schools, which means more people can go back to work and things like that. So if we judge here by there, then yeah, potentially we're the 11th of May today. So yeah, 1st of June would be 3 weeks. Well, a bit less than 3 weeks away. I know that I won't be back in work then, because even by England standards, the earliest any leisure businesses will be reopening will be the 1st of July. So we could be back in the situation where I'm in lockdown but you're not. Which will be weird, because I have got used to you pretty much always being here. I have like about an hour maybe when you go out with the dog. And the rest of the time, I've got company whenever I want it, whether or not I want it. And I imagine the same goes for you. But I don't want you to be back out. Well, I think I will kick off if you have to catch public transport to work, because I realise there's no other option, but I would be so nervous about that.
Well, I was going to say at my work, if it's kind of the law that they have to kind of maintain social distancing, I can imagine how they can manage that on the shop floor generally, though obviously you'd have to break that for actual kind of eye measurements and glasses fittings and all sorts of things. But it's once you get into the kind of the staff areas, you know, like the locker room and the toilet and the staff room and the stairwells, you know, how you then maintain social distancing, I can't picture, but that doesn't so much worry me, because you know, I think for the most part my colleagues are a sensible bunch and we'll kind of try and look after each other. But
like I say, I'm not worried about your colleagues, I'm worried about the general public.
Well, yeah, but the thing the thing that worries me more than that is just the public transport. Like they're
telling people avoid it if you can, but that's just not realistic for the vast majority of people who work, I think.
I don't drive.
The vast majority of people who are in the types of jobs where you can't work from home. Because imagine if you work in an office, you're in middle management or something, most people in those sorts of roles can work from home. But if you're in any kind of role where you're working with the public, or you're on a building site, or you're doing anything like that, that's going to involve travelling to somewhere. So either you're travelling to the shop where you work and people come in, or you're travelling to the building site, or you're travelling to the factory or whatever. Most people in those sorts of jobs either don't drive because they don't need to, because public transport does the job, or actually I think most people who could afford to drive to work probably are in upper management level type jobs like if you you couldn't drive to work, where would you park if you did?
Well, no,
it's the centre of a capital city.
That's the thing. So I was going to say I don't drive, but as you pointed out before, even people who do drive still need places to park their cars.
Yeah, and if everybody's being told not to use public transport, well, we saw today, we will go into actually the Boris debacle, but one of the things that was suggested in last night's speech was that basically, if you can work, you should be back at work from today. They've backtracked on that a little bit. They've now actually said, they mean by Wednesday. But today, on the tube, and I was wondering if this was going to be a bunch of people just sort of being, sensationalist about it and just but I checked, and there were loads of people on the tube today, and you can't social distance on the tube. It's too small. But also getting on and off the tube, just even things like using handrails, you can't stand without sort of using a handrail on the tube. Even if you sort of put a gap of 2 seats between you, there's still someone probably at best 2 meters opposite you.
I think realistically though, I mean, when they say we're encouraging people to work from Monday, actually getting people back into work has got to be staggered. Because people have got to be able to receive the guidelines of how to make workplaces safe. They've got to have time to actually make that happen.
They're still not available, and people are supposed to be doing this from Wednesday, and they haven't got the guidelines yet.
I mean, realistically, if you're an employer and you've got people on furlough, you want to at least give people a bit of notice of kind of right, this is coming to an end. You've got to sort out your childcare arrangements. Yeah. You've got to figure out what you're doing as a family or as a household, because it's such a shit.
People can't suddenly you're in tomorrow. No. You couldn't do that normally. That's why you have rotas and things, and that's under normal circumstances. This is why I refer to the Boris speech as a debacle, because it was a speech, it was pre-recorded, he said his bits, and then he was due to clarify today, so he was actually going to take it to the Houses of Parliament today for PMQs, which he did, and then at 7 p.m. there was a news briefing. So basically it was what they normally do at about 5. They had it at 7, so Boris was on his podium with Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty to clarify and go into further detail on all of this. Now, I think it's safe to say no more clarity was got from any of that. I tried watching all of PMQs and I got so frustrated with the amount of fucking waffle that man says. The number of times he starts an answer by saying, well, to be absolutely clear, and then waffles and doesn't actually even answer the fucking question, because so many of the questions are sensible, direct questions, and they don't have answers to them. So they just waffle about and basically repeat what's already been said. So quite a lot of people, quite reasonably, had, okay, right, all right, if we're going with trying to get back to work, what do you expect people who have children who aren't back in school to do? Fair question, I think. And then he just goes, well, obviously, well, they would expect to talk to their employers and make arrangements, and if they can't make arrangements, then perhaps they will still have to work from home, if they can. And it's just lots of if possibles and if they cans, but no help to make it possible.
Well,
or guidelines, because then it seems to me like that is a loophole that is allowing employers, potentially unscrupulous employers, to say, no, we've been told you can come in, so if you choose not to come in, then I'm going to choose not to pay you and choose to hire someone else. Which officially you can't.
Nannies are allowed back in homes, of course, but not everyone can afford nannies. And
yeah, and also, how much of a fucking bullshit provision is that? That is a bunch of MPs who've been working from home and they've gone, oh god, this is hard. Yeah, well, can you imagine people who've got 3 or 4 kids and don't have a palatial home with a big garden and don't have staff? It's bullshit.
It is just like, what things do it need to come back for? Oh, well, obviously we need the nanny and the other staff. That needs to be a priority for everyone.
Yeah,
we're doing good for the nation. Bringing
out
that
of
back.
touch.
And
they probably think they're throwing a bone to people who work as nannies, being like, oh, well, you can go back to work. Oh, great, so I can go into another person's household, but I can't go and visit my mum. Like, piss off, right? Right. I also, by the way, lots of people keep saying, so you're telling me I can go to work, but I can't see my mum? Well, essentially, yes. But I want to see, I've said it a million times, I want to see my family, I want to see my friends. Even if I had to go into work, I would still, wherever possible, be on lockdown. I still wouldn't go and see my friends, even if I do have to go to work, because I'm going to do what is strictly necessary until we're in a much safer position. And that's me from the position where I actually know that my family have been being very sensible. It's still just not worth taking any unnecessary risks. I do understand, of course, the economy needs to be making money eventually. Like, we can't just pay everyone indefinitely. Of course we can't. But there should be no pressure to go back to unsafe working environments. So if you're saying to people, avoid public transport, then you need to actually have firm, sensible alternatives for people who can't get to work by other means. But just saying avoid it if you can.
But
lots of all of it,
and we're ending furlough.
Yeah.
Then you still have to.
Well, they've been suspiciously silent on the furlough front.
Just to be clear, I'm sure that my employers are going to do everything they can to make their staff safe and look after people. We're talking in general terms, but just because I was talking about my employers earlier, I don't want to make it clear that we're not.
I'm an employer. I have an employee. I have one employee. That is how big my company is. But I do, and I think most employers are being quite sympathetic and probably are going to try and be sensible about this. And I doubt many people were going last night, right, you're in tomorrow or you're sacked. I don't think it's that level, but there are unscrupulous employers out there. You've just got to look at your Tim Martins of the world and just go, because actually he did backtrack on that. So just to revise what I'm talking about there in case you didn't catch it. Tim Martin is the CEO, managing director of Wetherspoons, and he's a cunt. And he basically, when it was announced that they were all going to be closing, he said nobody was going to be paid a penny from the moment all of the pubs shut. And if you're screwed, I suggest you go and see if you can find work in Tesco's. Lots of people then, quite rightly, and we were some of them, went, well, boycott Wetherspoons. When this all reopens, fuck them. Fuck him and fuck them. And then he said he would sort of backtrack. When they announced the 80% furlough scheme, he said, right, well, when we get the money from that, I am willing to pay people. But he wasn't going to pay it out of his pocket in the interim, but there was still backlash from that, and I think he then did concede. But basically, he has done whatever he can to avoid giving his employees who make him rich money.
So still boycott Wetherspoons.
So still boycott
Don't
Wetherspoons.
go to Wetherspoons unless it's to use the toilet, because it's often quite convenient. The toilet's usually quite clean, and they don't make any money off it. So it's twattery. It's twattery of the highest order. Generally, so you can sneak in and kind of use the toilet without feeling like like a smaller pub. You feel a bit embarrassed going and use the toilet without buying something. Wetherspoons, you're fine. Plus, morally, you're on high ground, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's a dick move. He showed such contempt for his staff, but he's not going to be the only employee that's a dick. There will be some unscrupulous ones, but I guess that's humanity for you, isn't it? I think most people, throughout all of this, I get the impression that people have actually been generally pretty good. I think people have looked after each other as best they can, making the best of it, admittedly, sort of bumbling along and sort of not really knowing quite what they're doing, and me too. But ultimately, I don't think most people have been going, well, fuck you then, I don't care. I think most people have been going, okay, well, if I can look after you, I hope I can, and if I can, I will. But until there's some clear guidance from the government, I kind of have to sort of go, I don't really know.
Yesterday.
But he sort of, before there was even any announcement from the government, just went, nah, fuck you all, so fuck him. Sorry, yeah.
Fuck him.
Fuck him.
Yesterday, we watched Boris's kind of big announcement, his fireside chat, and I think my overriding sense was almost one of relief, of just things not seeming to be as bad as we'd perhaps been led to suspect they might be. That he did seem to be talking about, well, things can go backwards as well as forwards, and it seemed fair, moderate, just in terms of what the papers had been saying the previous Thursday. That said, then taking a bit of time to kind of let it sink in and let the information percolate and kind of, I guess, see what other people are thinking about it as well. You do start to realise, there's a lot of vagary and a lot of more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And the relief of it not being as bad as it could have been doesn't actually mean that it was good.
No.
That's where the bar is. They kind of make it look...
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. It's just it's not as bad as I was
leak
expecting.
a suggestion that it might be scary.
Doesn't mean it's good.
And then we kind of go, oh, phew, it's not that. And
but the damage has still been done. And also, even if the entirety of the British public were 100% sensible people, which they're not, and no, that's not me being anti-British, by the way, that's people. People are idiots. But yeah, basically, the vagaries around all of this and how essentially it seems to be they're stepping back from taking ownership over what we do now. So when it's all just, essentially that's between you and your employer, that's essentially putting it down to the people. So basically, if that person gets ill, it's either their fault, or maybe it's their employer's fault, or maybe it's public transport's fault, but it's not our fault. So that if they promise these, we're going to reduce restrictions on this date, and actually the R rate shoots up, which, by the way, I still think is inevitable anyway, they can sort of blame people for not doing the right thing. Not being alert enough. What the fuck does that mean? But it's essentially that they're stepping back from taking ownership. So, whichever way this goes, they can sort of, and it's already working. People are already, I look at the sort of message boards that are discussing this, and anyone who is there's loads of fucking twats on there going like, oh, well, this is ridiculous. You wouldn't be happy whatever he'd said. Like, how hard is it? You're just supposed to use your common sense, for fuck's sake. And I'm like, okay, tell me this then. If I've got to use my common sense, what if I live in Wales but I work in England? What's my common sense say about whether or not I should be going to work on Wednesday or not? Because I live in Wales but I work in England. What's the common sense thing there? Don't know. Also, what's the common sense thing there if I'm supposed to go to work but I've got children and I don't have childcare, but my employer could expect me to go to work? What's the common sense thing there? Don't know.
Boris was asked a question at the press after his thing today, where he just repeated a bunch of stuff from the previous day and didn't really clarify an awful lot. But he was asked, because people are only supposed to meet with people from other houses now, or they're supposed to maintain social distance, do it in like a public place, like a park. They can't go to people's houses. But in public, you can meet up with someone from another house.
Outdoors is safer.
As long as you maintain social distance, but it's only supposed to be one person from each household, not groups. And someone asked the question, well, what if, my family is out?
We all live in a house together. We're all out together, as we're allowed to be.
And then another group from another house that we know are all out together, or a family from another house are all out together. And then we bump into each other on our exercise, which we're allowed to do.
Well, they're allowed to do picnics now and sunbathing and all sorts.
Do we have to go home? Are we allowed to...
Who gets to stay?
Yeah.
Who gets ownership of the park?
That's it. Does someone have to go home, or are we allowed to stay and have a conversation? And Boris basically dodged the question because he doesn't know the answer.
He just waffled around and repeated the whole
how can we use our common sense if even the guy who's kind of coming up with the policies doesn't know how it works? And Dominic Raab has offered about 3 different versions of what we're supposed to be doing just this morning and confusing everyone. But what was a bit heartening today was Philip and Fern on This Morning.
I saw this, yeah.
Were really scathing about the Prime Minister.
And they've been so fluffy up until now.
Yeah, and I'm not a viewer of This Morning. And I don't, Philip Schofield used to present TV when I was a kid, so I've got a kind of residual kind of fondness of him for that. But
cards on the table here. I have a massive crush on Holly Willoughby. I love her.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Philip Schofield, but...
I wouldn't kick him out of bed.
All right, well... he'd kick you out of bed, is the thing.
Yeah, you would.
But maybe I'll invite him round and you can watch. I don't know. I mean,
can I invite Holly at the same time?
We've not.
We can't. It's mixing households.
We've not
There'll
socialised.
be 3 whole households.
We've not socialised with anyone for a long time. We don't really know how it is anymore.
No. What's the rules?
Just invite couples round for TV couples round for sex. But the point being is it was kind of heartening because they just they have a really big audience and are quite, in that respect, quite influential. So if they're being quite scathing about the government, about Boris Johnson, hopefully it gives some people...
Yeah, and they were being scathing about the exact same thing that we're being scathing about. It's just that it's confusing. And they were basically saying, we want to do the right thing, but we don't know what the right thing is. Now, yesterday, before you did your address to the nation, we knew what the rules were. Today, we don't really know what we're supposed to do. So even if people are making the best guess...
It's depressing and it makes you anxious.
Yeah, it's actually really damaging to people's mental health because this level of uncertainty and am I doing the right thing, am I not doing the right thing? The idea that, am I going to be pressured to go back into work, but I don't feel safe in work, but will I lose my job if I don't go to work? That's really damaging to mental health. And to make these announcements without sort of, by the way, these are going to be the sort of, there will be financial sort of safety nets, employers will be supported in order to help them do this, because they've said there will be employers' guidelines by Wednesday, but Wednesday is the day that employees are supposed to be back in if they can. And what's this level of if they can? Technically anyone can, it's just whether they can safely and sort of practically, because what if you're perfectly healthy, you don't have any kids, but you live with someone who's super high risk? Should you go to work? Because thankfully, I've got health conditions, but I'm not in the high risk category because mine don't affect my lungs or my immune system. Theoretically, don't know enough about it. Could be fucked.
It's
don't
a
know.
very new condition, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's not. It's probably been happening forever, but they've only started acknowledging that fibromyalgia is a thing.
No, I was talking about COVID-19.
Right. Yeah. Well,
no, I wasn't.
Bless. Well, no, fibromyalgia was back in
relatively
the
recently
90s.
kind of
it was referred to as yuppie flu.
But Yeah, but COVID-19 is
they don't know.
inarguably quite a new condition, and we
Yes.
don't know how it interacts with all the other conditions. So we don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not. I've got a friend who lives with is the full-time carer for a relative who has motor neuron disease. Now she's had the letter to say you've got a shield, you're high risk, and unfortunately, because motor neuron disease can affect different parts of the body. This particular person has trouble with her breathing already, so very scary time for her. She's got a shield, but my friend works in a key worker environment. What's she supposed to do? Thankfully, she's been able to take time off because they've done like a scale back of employees. But if the new guidance is, thankfully, she's in Wales. So at least we've got 3 weeks of it's okay for now. And then we'll just start getting more dread towards the end of that 3 weeks again.
And if England are pushing one way, then it might force the hand of the other nations to kind of also push in those directions.
Yes.
So anyway, before we go, we're running out of time. But what I did want to say is... excuse me. Obviously, this whole situation can lead to some anxiety. One way we've been dealing with that is channeling our frustrations into a sketch that we've been filming. It's not the correct solution for everyone, I'm sure, but for us, it's been quite good fun. It's quite nice doing something creative with this one, aside from this, and it's...
I used to be a drama student. I have discovered I am rusty as fuck at delivering lines.
My prep has not been learning the lines, it's been putting on this t-shirt. I've made I'm such a delightful sausage fanboy that I've got a delightful sausage iron-on patch that I've ironed onto this t-shirt. If you don't know them, they're like a comedy duo that are very funny.
They're really good. They're really good.
Check out their special on Next Up Comedy, and they've got a new podcast out as well, so check that out. But you might think, oh, he's ironed a patch onto a t-shirt. That's kind of a bit of lockdown activity, if you will. No, I did this on my own time when I was still out working and gigging and didn't have all this free time on my hands. That's how much of a delightful sausage fanboy I am.
Yeah.
But I'm not very good at ironing patches on, and I worry that after a few washes this is just going to start peeling off. So that if we're making some videos, I'm going to wear it, so say for posterity. Exactly. Yes. And it's a very topical sketch. We've tried to put some jokes in, although it's also... it's about serious things.
Thankfully, guys, I'm not the one trying to deliver any jokes. I'm not a funny person.
But I laugh at you.
You laugh at me.
But yeah, it's got some quite serious themes because it's about all the topical stuff that's going on. But hopefully we'll be getting that out tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully. Today, by the time you watch this, it might be out. You might see that before you see this. But
can't put the link in this blurb, but I'll put it in future ones.
It's very nice, like doing something creative. Yeah, it's been really...
It has been good.
Really great.
It has been good.
Distraction,
so
even though it's
nice that we can do it outside of this
all the
room.
Stuff that's happening in the real world. It's weirdly also a distraction from just...
We've got to go. This has probably gone on far too long. But
becoming indulgent.
We are. Fuck us, eh? I doubt anyone watches this far. If you watch this far,